More than 4 months on from Japan's devastating tsunami, many fishing ports along the northeast coast are still struggling to remove debris and reopen. Squads of diving teams are working to clear waterways of millions of tons of rubble.
When we talk about floods, our minds often drift to catastrophic events like the 2011 tsunami in Japan, triggered by a powerful earthquake, or the colossal waves of the 2004 tsunami that claimed the lives of approximately 170,000 people. These disasters are etched into our collective memory, leaving a profound impact on the affected regions and the world at large. Yet, hidden within the pages of history are even more dangerous floods, whose destructive force surpasses these disasters. These less famous disasters, while not talked about as much, have left a lasting mark on history. Yellow River floods. Throughout history, the Yellow River has been both the giver and taker of life. Its yellow silt, carried from the Chinese Loess Plateau southeast of the Gobi Desert, fertilizes its floodplain, making it one of the most agriculturally productive regions on Earth and the cradle of Chinese civilization. Yet, alongside its bounty, the river has unleashed devastating floods, prompting the Chinese to construct a network of levees around 2,500 years ago to control its raging waters. Scientists have found that over many years, people have changed the Yellow River a lot. They've built things like levees to try to control floods, but it's made things worse. When levees are built, they trap dirt in the river, making it higher. This makes flooding more likely. To stop floods, they build even taller levees, but it just keeps repeating, making the problem worse. In 1887, the Yellow River flooded in Henan province, covering a vast area of 50,000 square miles. This disaster tragically claimed the lives of 900,000 people and left 2 million homeless. However, this wasn't the deadliest flood the Yellow River had seen. The flood of 1931 was of an entirely different magnitude. While the flood was bound to happen due to the region's environmental history, the real cause was unusually high precipitation. The winter of 1930 to 1931 was colder than usual, leading to significant snow and ice deposits in the upper river catchments. When these frozen areas melted in spring, heavy rains compounded the problem. With insufficient flood control measures and numerous dike failures, the flood submerged an estimated 88,000 square kilometers. The death toll was staggering, with an estimated 3.7 million people perishing, making it the deadliest natural disaster in recorded history. North Sea flood, January 31st, 1953. In the quiet darkness of a January night in 1953, something sinister brewed on the horizon. Across the lands bordering the North Sea, whispers of an impending disaster fluttered through the air. Little did they know, nature was about to unleash its hidden fury upon them in a way they could never have imagined. According to an article published on Britannica North Sea Flood, the worst storm surge on record for the North Sea. In the Netherlands, some 400,000 acres flooded, causing at least 1,800 deaths and widespread property damage. In eastern England, the North Sea flood of 1953 caused widespread devastation. Around 180,000 acres of land were flooded, resulting in the loss of approximately 300 lives and damage to 24,000 homes. Additionally, at least 200 people lost their lives at sea, with 133 passengers aboard the Princess Victoria ferry perishing in the storm. As the clock struck midnight on January 31st, storm crept in from the sea, shrouded in mystery. In the Netherlands, a significant portion of the land, about 20%, lies below the average sea level. With the expansion of Flevoland, this proportion has increased even further. Additionally, another 30% of the land sits at less than 1 meter above sea level. Such low-lying areas heavily depend on sea defenses to protect against flooding. During the North Sea flood of 1953, these vulnerable regions were hit the hardest, experiencing widespread devastation and tragic loss. The disaster resulted in 1,836 deaths in the Netherlands, with most of the casualties occurring in the southern province of Zeeland. The impact was particularly severe in areas reliant on sea defenses, underscoring the critical importance of effective flood protection measures in safeguarding lives and property. Starting from midday on January 31st, 1953, a fierce northwest gale began pushing water from the northern North Sea, squeezing it towards the coastlines of the Netherlands. This surge coincided with a high spring tide, resulting in record-breaking water levels along the Dutch coast, particularly in the southwestern regions. By 10:30 p.m. on January 31st, it was supposed to be low tide, but the water remained unusually high due to the relentless force of the hurricane, disrupting the normal ebb and flow of the tides. In the early hours of February 1st, 1953, around 3 a.m., the dikes in Zeeland, parts of South Holland, and northwestern North Brabant began to fail under the immense pressure of the spring tide and the northwesterly storm. Both on the islands and the mainland, vast areas were inundated by floodwaters. At 4 p.m. on February 1st, a second surge hit, pushing water levels even higher and causing more dikes to breach. Many who had sought refuge on rooftops during the first flood tragically perished as their shelters collapsed under the relentless water pressure. Initially, rescue operations were limited due to the scale of the disaster and the lack of resources. It wasn't until February 2nd that fishermen ventured deep into the flooded areas to rescue hundreds of stranded individuals. America's deadliest flood. The Johnstown flood, also known locally as the Great Flood of 1889, occurred on Friday, May 31st, 1889, following the catastrophic collapse of the South Fork Dam. This dam was situated on the South Fork of the Little Conemaugh River, approximately 14 miles upstream from the town of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, in the United States. The disaster was triggered by several days of exceptionally heavy rainfall, causing the dam to rupture and unleash a staggering 14.55 million cubic meters of water. The floodwaters surged downstream with a volumetric flow rate that momentarily matched the average flow rate of the Mississippi River. Tragically, the flood claimed the lives of 2,208 people and caused an estimated $17 million in damages, equivalent to approximately $580 million in 2023. In response to the catastrophe, the American Red Cross, under the leadership of Clara Barton and supported by 50 volunteers, launched a significant disaster relief effort. Assistance poured in from across the United States and 18 foreign countries to aid the victims. On May 28, 1889, heavy rainfall hit western Pennsylvania, causing creeks to swell and threatening to overflow rivers. Elias Unger, president of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club, saw Lake Conemagh's water level rise. Despite efforts to clear debris from the dam's spillway and lower water levels, the dam was at risk of collapse. Engineer John Park considered relieving pressure by cutting the dam's end, but decided against it. Warnings were sent to Johnstown, but past false alarms led to them being ignored. By 1:30 p.m., Unger and his men retreated to higher ground. Between 2:50 and 2:55 p.m., the South Fork Dam broke, releasing 14.55 million cubic meters of water. The floodwaters hit South Fork first, causing destruction and fatalities. The flood continued downstream, with the Conemaugh Viaduct briefly halting its progress before collapsing, allowing the flood to gain momentum. Mineral Point suffered severe damage, with many fatalities. The flood's flow rate exceeded 420,000 cubic feet per second, comparable to the Mississippi River at its delta. As we reflect on this tragic chapter in history, let us honor the memory of those who perished and the strength of those who survived. Join us for more compelling stories from the past, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights and updates.